Hello, I'm Eddie O'Sullivan, and this is This Week in the Italian Campaign.
In This Week in the Italian Campaign, brought to you by the Freedom for Italy Second World War History Network, the Second Battle of Cassino on the 15th to the 18th of February 1944. On the 12th of February, the attempt by America's 34th and 36th Divisions to capture high points overlooking Cassino, including Monte Cassino itself, and break through to Highway 6, had been called off. The New Zealand Corps, commanded by General Bernard Freyberg and comprising the 2nd New Zealand Division and the 4th Indian Division, which had arrived from the Adriatic front at the start of the month, was ordered to complete the work started by the Americans. Hopes that the Indian Division would immediately resume the advance were frustrated by a German attack on American forces on Monte Cassino, the complications of deploying on a narrow front on high ground, and the challenge of evacuating infantry debilitated by weather and exhaustion. The handover to the Indian Division wasn't completed until the 15th of February. Monte Cassino Abbey was bombed on the morning of the 15th of February. The Indian Division asked for its attack towards the Abbey to be brought forward by a day to take advantage of the bombing, but this was denied. The 4th Indian Division was at that point temporarily commanded by Brigadier Henry de Molina. It comprised 5, 7, and 11 brigades. Each brigade comprised of regiments recruited in the UK and British India, but their commanding officers were all British. 7th Brigade was deployed along the line and reached by the 34th Division. Its commander, Brigadier Osmond Lovett, successfully argued that no attack on the Abbey could be attempted before Point 593, the most prominent high point overlooking Monastery Hill, was taken. On the night of the 15th of February, a single company of the 1st Battalion of the Royal Sussex Regiment started to advance just over 200 yards between its start line and 593. Blocked by boulders and relentless German fire, the company took the hill, but were driven off and withdrew. The following night, 3 of the Royal Sussex's companies were used in a second attack on 593. They were again repulsed. The regiment suffered 174 casualties in the 2 nights fighting. A third attack at midnight on the 17th of February called for the 17th, 18th Rajputanas passing through the Sussex line to take 593. 2 hours later, 2 Gurkha battalions were to attack to the left downhill, then up the slope to the Abbey. And while this was happening, the New Zealand Division was to cross the Rapido and head for the entrance of the River Liri Valley and attack Cassino to pin down its defenders. The attack against the Monastery Hill was repulsed by German machine gun fire and booby-trapped scrub, which devastated 2 companies of the 1st, 2nd Gurkhas. Almost 450 casualties were suffered in the division's attack that night. In the valley at 9:30 in the evening of the 17th of February, 28 Maori Battalion crossed the Rapido using the ruined railway bridge after a 2-hour barrage of likely German strong points. They deployed into a 200-yard line and advanced across waterlogged ground on the left of the railway embankment to beyond Cassino railway station. Breaches in the embankment were to be repaired behind the Maoris to create a roadway that could be used by American and New Zealand tanks to reach Highway 6. By midnight, 2 companies were in the station yard, but the moon came out, allowing the Germans to identify what was happening. Counterattacks developed after dawn. By then, news had come that the 4th Indian Division attack on Monastery Hill had failed, making the operation essentially redundant. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the Maoris started to withdraw. Of the 200 who set off the previous night, only 66 were still on their feet by the end of the 18th of February. Following the end of the German fish-fang operation on the 20th of February, the defensive arrangements around the Anzio Road involved the 3rd Division moving to the left to take over around 1,500 yards of the line previously held by America's 45th Division. Britain's 56th Division shifted to the right to relieve the 2nd Battalion of the 157th Regiment, which had been effectively cut off and was sheltering in caves to the west of the Anzio Road. On the night of the 21st of February, the 2nd 7th Queen's Regiment of the 56th Division's 169 Brigade reached the caves but were immediately attacked. The remnants of the 2nd Battalion escaped the encirclement on the 22nd of February after 7 days of almost continuous combat. Of the 225 men who got out, 90 were hospital cases. That night, the Queens divided into small groups to infiltrate their way back to the main 6th Corps line. It lost more than 80% of its strength in what is known as the Battle of the Caves. The war of attrition around the left shoulder of the salient continued, involving small groups of infiltrators and defenders. On the 25th of February, 56th Division reported that its 167 Brigade was at only 35% of effective strength, 168 Brigade at 50%, and 169 Brigade, which had seen no action before the 20th of February, was down to 45%. Attacks were also launched on the right shoulder held by 180th Infantry Regiment. Meanwhile, commander of German forces around the bridgehead, General Eberhard Mackensen, started planning for what would be the final attempt to smash 6th Corps. That story will be told in a future episode of This Week in the Italian Campaign. On the 22nd of February, Clark landed in the bridgehead and used the visit to replace General Lucas as 6th Corps commander by General Lucien Truscott. I told Lucas he had done a grand job, but that inasmuch as he was not in mental or physical condition to carry on as well as someone else, my course was clear. It was my duty to take him out, that I would make him my deputy. Clark and Lucas left the bridgehead together on the 23rd of February. On the 22nd of February 1944, Acting Major Laurie Franklin Vale of the Royal Irish Fusiliers wrote to his wife Olive in the UK from near Capua, south of the 5th Army front. We are in a rather pleasant part of the country, quite fertile, and the climate is very much milder. The Germans carried out a systematic destruction in this part of the world, and every building, no matter how small and out of the way, has had its roof removed, all of course with the object of preventing us from having winter quarters. We have managed to find a farmhouse to establish ourselves in, very crowded and rather uncomfortable, but better than no shelter. B&C companies share the same mess, and Douglas and I have quite a lot to do with one another. I'm glad to have him with me. We get on very well together. Look after yourself, darling, and keep cheerful. It will be a great day when we are together again, and something worth looking forward to. All my loving kisses to you and Valerie. Lawrence.
Well, that's the latest episode of This Week in the Italian Campaign. We covered what is known as the Second Battle of Cassino, involving the New Zealand Corps, which was unsuccessful, and then another German unsuccessful attempt to smash the 6th Corps in Anzio. I don't have a live guest this week. Instead, I'm just going to talk about a book, as I have in the past, that you might like to refer to. This is Cassino, Portrait of a Battle by Fred Mastroianni. This is one of the first books, and if not the first book, written about the battle. It was published in 1957. It still has very valuable insights, and he himself was a witness of this battle. So anyway, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with another edition of This Week in the Italian Campaign. So until then, from everybody here, it's goodbye, good luck, and may God bless you all.